So I want to ask you something honestly. Are you a real investor?
Well, here we go. It's a great question. There's a couple different, that is the real question, right? Should I get into real estate or not? And that's a question we get asked daily. People call us up. I have 100,000, 200,000 to put down as a down payment. What should I buy?
So I always tell people there are two different kind of investors. Some investors like you saying, I have $200,000, of $100,000. What can I do with it? Can I leverage my money? And a lot of times I like to just kind of tell them like, are you in it for the long haul? Are you going to be in it for a few minutes? Are you going to buy it? No, this is not for me. I live too far away. You're going to regret it.
Most people that come to us, they're not sure. Even after we tell them, one way or the other, they're being pulled in multiple different directions. They have a friend in the business, they have a relative in the business, something that's pulling them one way or another. What would you suggest their first step be?
So one of the things that I like to personally do is that I like to tell them, listen, the first thing you need to know is what do you want to do? I think they have to go a little bit soul searching, go on bigger pockets, see, hey, you have what it takes. Some people will come in and just spend the money and just get into foreclosure, will have some issues with the city itself, and they don't know what they're dealing with as far as what it really takes coming down, either getting the property manager, because once you get a property manager, you're not hands-on anymore. You're in somebody else's realm, and you can end up losing everything if you're not willing to be in touch on a day-to-day basis.
So you would suggest that my first step be what?
First step is to, like I said, soul search and find out what the numbers are, right? Someone will tell me, hey, I have 200. What can I get? I typically just like to start them off at a 3-family house. Listen, this is how you get your feet wet. Try the 3-family house. See if you like it. If you like it, if you can handle it, you step up. You get 3, 6, 9, 12. You keep going. I never tell somebody, don't just buy one, because if you're in it to buy one, it's game over. Don't waste your time.
It's interesting. I give people the opposite advice. I tell them don't even bother with the 3. They're more inclined to lose money their first time around. And I try to push them away from buying the 3.
Well, the problem is that the average investor can't really start at 20 in the building.
This is true, but if they have 100,000 now, however they got that 100,000, if they wait a year or 2 years, whatever their other business is, they can buy a 6 or a 12. Is there money to be made on a 3?
You could make money on a 3. I personally own a few 3s, and I have grown. I buy it. I renovate the apartments. I put in, let's say, a granite countertop. I'll put in some spotlights. I make it look a little modern. Put some nice fresh paint, a little bit of tile, redo the bathroom, raise the rents by about 20%. And all of a sudden, my properties are cash flowing. So I've done very well with my 3 families.
Okay. I have 100,000. I have 200,000. I want to invest in real estate. What should my mindset be? If you can give me 3 steps, not necessarily, not steps, mindset. What should my mindset be before I make that leap into real estate?
So you better go get it. That's number one.
Okay.
You gotta go and get it. If you're not gonna go and get it, just quit right now. That's number one. Number two is, like my personal opinion is, get 1, get 2. Just keep going and be aggressive. Just be on it. Call up anybody in the area. Hey, do you have the right guys for me? Do you have the right contractors for me? Just keep going at it.
I would add that just as important is everybody thinks getting into real estate is going to make them money off the bat, and they're going to become rich in the first year. It's not the case. You're going to deal with a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of learning curves. It's going to take you a while to get started. Just like any business, there's a learning curve that you have to take, and you have to be willing to take before you can actually make it into a profitable business for yourself. Even if you cash flow from day 1, day 2 might bring on something else that will bring you back down. So you need to kind of figure out your own footing, where you're going in the business before you go ahead and expand, and before you make that leap. You need to have a clear path, maybe even a mentor, or for sure somebody who's you trust, that's giving you the right advice, because it is very easy to lose money. It is very easy to make a mistake when you're in your first investment. People are eager, they have extra cash, they're excited, but that excitement could lead to error.
So I'll tell you, when I first started, I remember I didn't know a blast the thing. And one of the things that I started off with was me and my uncle were like, hey, we know nothing, but you know what? This is college. Instead of paying for college, this is our tuition. We're going to lose a few bucks, and we're just going to do it. And I've seen 2 schools of thought. One school of thought is that these guys like, I'm just going to do it, and I'll figure it out. If it works, great. and I'll make it work and I'll figure it out. And I've seen a lot of people do that. You know, they might lose money on the first three family house or so, but they keep going, they keep going. And now I'm at a guy who I've been in touch with for about probably 10 months. He bought a property for me the last, I have to say September, it was September, and now he's going for 22 units with me. So less than 10 months, he didn't know what he was doing. He's like, yeah, okay, good, I'll buy cash, all right, let's do it. But there's no, I don't know if there's a right or wrong. Some people are get paralysis by analysis. They just sit there and they're like, you don't want to do that either. So if you're going to go get it, just get it done.
If you're listening to this, you're trying to figure out exactly what type of investor you are. We're here to help you figure that out. And a lot of people can lean on us for that advice. And whether it's getting in first steps, some people, we may even recommend buying a single family over a multi. What are your thoughts on single families?
So I personally do own some single family homes. One of the things that I personally love about single family homes is that you could actually self-manage. Tenants could be in there for many years. The ups of having a single family house is that, number one, the tenant actually pays the water bill. On multifamily houses, there's very few homes or buildings in Connecticut that I've seen that actually metered out separately for each tenant. So you have the tenant paying the water. You have the tenant dealing with the landscaping, the snow removal. You also have the fact that you don't have the tenant say, oh, the neighbor brought bed bugs. Hey, if the bed bugs came, they came with you. They didn't come with them. So you save money on that. And overall, it's less fighting, so it becomes much easier, and you tend to have longer, more stable tenants. One of the things that I find with tenants that rent from single-family houses, so a lot of the tenants that I personally deal with, the credit isn't great. I take them, I give them a chance, but they never almost end up building up enough credit to move on, so they could. I've had tenants for 5 to 10 years, and it's just great because you know what? It's on autopilot, and you really don't have to think about it. And as long as they pay your mortgage in 20, 25 years, however long your mortgage is, you paid it for your home, and you made a few bucks, $200 extra on top, you did really well for yourself.
Would you recommend for a first-time investor a single family over, say, a 2 or 3 family?
So it depends. If you're going to do this as a side hustle, like you have a full-time job, 9 to 10, not even 9 to 5, you're full-time, you got family, kids, I would say start off with a single-family house, see how you like it. It's more like candy. If you're going to go full-time, definitely go for the 3s. And obviously, the more depressed the area, the more work you're going to have to put in. So if you're buying property in a bad neighborhood, you're going to put a lot of work in, but at the same time, your return is going to be higher. If you're willing to put in the work, great. But if you're not going to deal with the day in, day out grind, then don't go for the 3 family unless you're going for like a or B minus situation.
I hear from a lot of our clients that own single families over multis is their main reason why they went into it wasn't so much the cash flow or the difference. It's just the headaches. You have a 3 family property, you have 3 hot water tanks. You have a single family property, you have 1 hot water tank and 1 family using that hot water tank. The issues are a lot less likely to happen in the single family. Yes, granted, they always happen regardless, and there's certain things we can't avoid no matter what size the property is. But the fact that I only have to worry about 1 of them as opposed to 3 of them.
So I've heard people argue the other way. Let's say I have a 50-unit building. So in a 50-unit building, hey, I got 1 roof, right? So I got 1 roof, and I have 50 tenants, so I have 50 rents coming in. The reason why I like to counter that argument, that's great, you have 50 tenants, but I have 50 single-family houses, and yes, it costs me a little more, but I have a lot more peace and quiet. So it could go both ways, but if you are gonna go and just gonna jump into it and you plan on being a real estate mogul, just go for the big ones. Just to discuss about the single family house, obviously when you have 1 vacancy there, it's a lot harder because you have 0 income. One of the things that I don't like about a single family house is that if somebody moves out, they don't tell you, or I've had this tenant moves out, doesn't tell anybody, all of a sudden the pipes freeze. In a multi, you have either the neighbor saying, hey, it's the guy moved out, or hey, my pipe's leaking. You could have water flowing for a month before you realize that somebody's gone. Obviously, on a single family house, the entry level is very little barrier to entry on those, just simply because it's everywhere. You have so many of them. On the 3 family houses, also, you could buy them, but there is a lot more competition as far as the investor is concerned.
Why is that? Why are there more people looking at 3s than 1s?
Because in people's minds, if you buy, let's say in Waterbury, if you get a single family house, you're probably paying at the lowest at about $225,000, right, for that single family house. And depending on the rents, but it could be anywhere between $1,800 and $2,500. If you buy a 3 family house, you could be getting anywhere between $12,000 to $1,800, and you have three of those, and you'd be paying, if you get a good price, you could be paying $100, so you're in it for $300. You might have to put some money into it, but still at $300 versus $225, so you end up getting with three rents.
And that's why people feel safer with their multifamily investments as opposed to buying the single family.
Definitely, if you have one vacancy, you still have two other ones paying a mortgage.
The counter is, though, that obviously with the single families, because of the clientele, you're dealing with a family, you're dealing with more people, they're not necessarily going to pick up and move as quickly as somebody moving into a 2-bedroom and a 3-family, which we see them move quite often, especially in bigger cities like Waterbury, Hartford, where they're constantly moving up. They might only be there for 6 months to a year in that 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom as opposed to the single family. I mean, I've seen tenants that have been in the same place. I'm only 34, but they've told me they've been in the same place for 30 years, 25 years, 20 years. This is all very, very common to find.
So I think the old school mentality was you live in your place and you just stick there. The new generation is more of a disposable. You get your Amazon, you're in, out, 1, 2, 3, IKEA. And this new generation is going to be moving very quick. They are not going to stick around for a long time. I'll tell you, I did purchase myself a 4-family home in a better neighborhood. I'm not going to say it's a great neighborhood, but a better neighborhood. We renovated it and we put in some granite. And all of a sudden, we did raise the rents on that one as well. And you are able to keep tenants. I take the approach of having a personal relationship with the tenants. Some people don't do that, but I do like to have a personal approach. All my tenants have my cell phone number, and I try to work with them, and I try to be nice to them as if they're someone part of my family, so that I don't end up getting into it with them. I've seen many tenants get into it with their landlords, and I'm not there for that. I'm here to provide housing, and I'm here to help the people out there.
Wow, I see both ways. I do see a lot of landlords that have that mindset. I'm not going to hire a management company. I'm going to manage this property. I'm going to be hands-on. I'm going to be there once a week. Even if they live in New York, they still come down once a week to visit their property. So the tenants have a face. A lot of times the tenant's biggest complaint is we just get a letter in the, a notice for this, a notice for that. We don't even know who we're dealing with. We have maybe an office number, but nobody picks up. To have that interaction, do you feel that that's ideal for a first-time investor to be that hands-on with their tenant, or should they outsource that and have either a management company or a super or somebody who's the contact person, the go-between, if I'm just starting off?
So when you start off, it's very interesting. It's kind of like a new relationship. You're first starting off, you don't know anything. So the first thing you want to do is, if you're a boss, in order for you to really be a boss, you have to know the job really well. And if you just bought a property and you never managed, so how are you going to relate to your manager, hey, this is how I want you to do it? You have no idea how to do it.
But I don't necessarily know how to do it either as a first-time investor.
So that's why I like people to get their hands dirty, at least for 1 year minimum. And secondly, you have to understand that the average property manager charges 10%. When you're charging 10%, let's say you have an apartment that's $1,200. So you have a 3-family house and you have 12, 12, 12. Right? That's $3,600. That means that this landlord is making $360 off you a month, right, after gross rent. And in his mind, you're a small fry. He's got another building with 50 units, right? Let's say a rent roll of $50,000. He's making $5,000 of the other guy. So you're going to be in the second seat. Unless you're going to be calling him every day, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you're going to annoy him and bother him, yes, you will get more attention. But the reality is that there's only so much attention that somebody could give and pour into a 3-family house. As a new investor, this is your baby. You're going to come down there. You're going to see garbage on the floor. You're going to pick up that garbage by yourself. You're going to be like, hey, there's garbage on the floor. Right? You're going to see there's a leak. You're going to fix it. The manager's like, oh, there's a leak here. Oh, tell the office to put it in the system, right? Yardi or whatever you guys use, Folio. And they're going to forget. They don't really care as much. That's the reality of things, where it's not on their priority list. When you manage 50 units plus another 3-family house, that means you have 53 headaches. Right? And it's not just 50. You have so much headaches going on, and chances are they're not going to really make your property a great property. It's going to be something that's just going to limp along the whole way, and it's really never going to appreciate.
I see a lot in Hartford there. I remember, I'll never forget this, actually, in New Britain. I was once called to rent a building, and I showed up there, and there's a Hasidic guy outside, fully dressed and all this, and he's sitting there with an ice picker, chopping ice. And I thought, this is one of the strangest things. But as I got to know him more and more, he manages the properties himself. He's the owner-manager. He has a partner who manages with him. And he is as hands-on as I've ever seen, to the extent where before he takes on a tenant, he personally will come down and have a face-to-face interview with them prior to them moving into his unit, because he wants to make sure who he's taking, what he's taking. He knows everything about his building. He shows up, something has to be done, he'll do it himself. And he's very successful that way, as opposed to other people who outsource it and are now relying on a third party to manage their property. And there's so many things that can go wrong that you wouldn't necessarily even think of if you're not taking care of it yourself. When you take care of something yourself and you kind of have those steps laid out, it's very clear to how to make money that way. When I'm paying somebody else to do half that stuff, and I'm still have to do half that stuff because they're calling me, asking me anyway, it's very hard to turn that into profitable. Ultimately, I see people lose money by being so too quick to, hire management or hire the wrong management. There's that. But there's a lot of options when it comes to management you have. So there are good management companies out there that can, handle the properties and make sure it runs smoothly so you don't have that headache. And if you have another business or you're living out of state and you can't necessarily be as hands-on as maybe you'd like to, there are options. It just really depends on your dynamic and your situation.
Yeah, so you reminded me of a story when I first started about 15 years ago in property management. I was on a Rosette Street in New Haven, and I guess the guy didn't shovel one of the properties. And I'm like, hey, it's not shoveled. And I was out there with the ice picker trying to get all the ice out. One of the things that I like to do when I take over a building, I come with a letter from the management, and I go to Target. I'll buy a $3, $4, $5 package of chocolate, something that looks pretty, and I'll give it to them. And that's my intro, just so that they see, hey, I'm a nice guy. You see my face, you know who I am, and I'm here to work with you. So that's something that I do when I purchase a property.
And you find they accept that, they're happy with
Yeah,
that.
they're pretty receptive. They're pretty receptive. Oh, it's so nice you came down. And we chit chat. I'd probably give each one probably a half hour. Obviously, I could still do it. I'm on the small side, but as soon as you grow, you can't do it to 50 people unless you have a good manager in place. Or you could write a handwritten letter. I do think that a personal touch, chocolate, anything. I do think that creating that bond, again, firm, you keep your ground, and at the same time showing, hey, we care about you, and let's make a deal. Let's talk.
I find more and more as I deal with tenants on a day-to-day basis, whether it's, in an apartment building, whatever it is, I bump into somebody. They're generally just confused. They don't know who I am. They don't know who's who. Are you part of management? Are you part of leasing? But when you just talk to them in like a normal way and just lay out, my name is Ben. I'm here to lease out units, or whatever it is. I'm here to be the manager. People need that interaction that I think we so often just kind of push away, thinking it's a business. We don't need to have that interpersonal relationship with them. But regardless of their race, regardless of where they're living or their, low end, high end studio, it doesn't matter. If you can have that interaction with them and have that comfort level, you save yourself headaches in the future, because they'll come to you before something major happens. Or if there's an issue with another tenant, you're first to know because they trust you, they know you. So there are definitely advantages that way, as opposed to them being in contact with my secretary in the office. They're not going to, have the same level of trust as they would have with the owner.
For sure. I come in many times into a building, and they say, oh, are you the landlord? No, I'm just renting out the apartments. I'm the leasing agent. Like, oh, okay. This is broken, that's broken, nobody fixed it. And many times when you have a bigger building, the people will go over to the manager, and it doesn't reach to the proper channels. Whether they're not using the app properly, there's an app. They might not know how to use the app. Right. So sometimes just coming over to me, I can just message, hey, Mr. Landlord, this tenant 3A is complaining about whatnot, and you think you can take care of it? And they usually say, no problem, sure. We'll send somebody down tomorrow. So I just text the tenant, hey, we'll take care of it for you.
Right. And what I do is, if I'm in a building that I'm renting out and somebody says to me, hey, I have no heat, hey, I have a leaking water, I say, show it to me. I said, I'm not the manager. If I'm, assuming I'm not managing that property, I'm not the manager. I'm simply here to lease out the building. I'll take a video, I'll send it to the proper channels, I'll make sure it gets taken care of. And I will bypass the management company and go straight to the owner and send the video directly to him. Hey, you have a tenant that's been complaining for 2 months now. I have a tub bumped into them. Please take care of it. And they do. So now when I return to that property, that tenant's grateful for me. And again, I'm not the owner. I'm not the manager. But the fact that I was able to help them, they'll send me another tenant for a vacant unit. They'll let me know before they move out. There's certain interactions that will just be beneficial for both of us moving forward.
All right. Before we close out the show, I'd like to ask, what are some of the takeaways that you can actually work upon to continue yourself in motion to actually get to where you need to get?
It's a great question. I think that most important is make yourself an outline. Where do you see yourself in 12 months? Where do you see yourself in 24 months? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Am I focusing on single families? Am I focusing on multifamilies? Do I want to have a large portfolio that's cash flowing on its own and I can take a step back? Those are the things you have to focus on. Sit down, write down what you want to do, map it out. You have to start from somewhere.
I love that. That's great. It reminds me of a book that I read by Gary Keller from Keller Williams. It's called The One Thing. You put your goal out there and just focus on that. One of the things that I like to, push people is that, hey, if you've been thinking of investing for the past 6 months, why haven't you pulled the trigger yet? What's holding you back? One really has to figure out, is it anxiety? You're just not ready yet. You don't know what you're doing. Figure that out. Call somebody, or us, call anybody, and figure out what's holding you back so you should be able to actually get there, because otherwise you're sitting in the same spot.
I think it's very easy for people to have the idea. I also think it's very easy for people to get in. But at some point, regardless of who haven't started yet or you're already in step one, you kind of hit that wall. And at that point, that's when you kind of have to reach out, whether it's to us or to somebody else. Reach out to us for advice, for guidance. Even if it's just a question, I get calls all the time. People ask me, should I buy this? Should I not? Whether or not they're using me to help them is one thing. They could be having a deal with the owner directly, or with the bank, or with whoever, and they'll just call me up and ask me my opinion. And I'll give to them, whether it's a good buy or a bad buy. It's so important to have boots on the ground, people that can give you that advice and know what's going on in the city you're looking. And I can tell you, oh, this block's no good. This block is good. Don't touch that. It's going to turn into garbage. That's a golden block. And to have that breakdown, you really need to have guidance in place. And that's where I think we can help a lot of people out.
I like it. Listen, guys, stay tuned. Second episode, we'll talk about the difference between single family house and multis. We'll dive deeper, perhaps, into the numbers so you get an idea of how to properly channel where your end users are going to go. Thank you. Hope to see you next time.